Hello, what we're going to review first are the strings. We need to know the letter of the string and the number of the string. So the number of the string is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So please play and say the number of each one of the strings. And now each string also has a letter name. E, A, D, G, B, E. As well, you will be quizzed on being able to, if I ask you for a number, I want you to be able to give me a letter, and if I ask you for a letter, I want you to be able to give me a number. So that's part one. The second part is the fingers. So for your fingers, each finger has a name and a number. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, simple enough. An index finger, also known as the index finger. So 1 is the index finger, 2 is the middle finger, 3 is the ring finger, and 4 is the pinky finger. So that's the fingers, the numbers, and the names. Next review is the fret numbers. So there's a rule that you are not under any circumstance allowed to count frets. And the way that you gain the whole territory of the fretboard without counting is by memorizing 3, 5, 7, 9, and 12. We spoke about how the power of patterns is that you can predict what's going to happen next. And so the first 4 happen with the patterns. They're just going up odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9. However, as powerful as patterns are, you need to know when the pattern breaks down. And so that final number 12 is where the pattern breaks. So 3, 5, 7, 9, and 12. And if you memorize that, then I can quiz you and you can go through very quickly. If I say point to 3, you can go 3, 7, 5, 9, 3, 12, 9, 7, 5, 3. And that way you can go through and review that as well. So that's all the odd numbers with the exception of 12. Now to do the even numbers, it's very important that you use the same formula each time. It's not to say that there aren't other formulas that you could use. I'm just asking to keep things as consistent as possible, that when I say point to 4, to the 4th fret, and tell me how you got there, I want you to go to the odd number that's just below it and add 1. So the plus 1 is what I would like to be consistent here. So it'll be like this: point to 4 and tell me how you got there. Went to 3 and I added 1. Point to 6 and tell me how you got there. Went to 5 and added 1. Point to 8 and tell me how you got there. Went to 7 and added 1. Point to 10 and tell me how you got there. Went to 9 and added 1. Point to 2 and tell me how you got there. Went to 1 and added 1. So that's the formula, the consistent formula, the plus 1 formula that I'd like you to get down. Then the only exception to that is 11. You can do, because you're going to have 2 spaces here, you can go to 12 and subtract 1. That's the quickest way to get to 11. But everything else is plus 1 with the exception of the 12. All right, so to review what we just covered there, I gave you the strings, letters, and numbers, very important to have down. Fingers, I gave you the names and the numbers of the fingers. And finally, I gave you the frets, that fret exercise. The odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 12. And then the even numbers, starting with the odd and then adding 1. With the exception of 11, you can go to 12 and minus 1. All right, so that's the first 3 things that you want to have ready for the next lesson. The next is a scale. So the first scale that we're looking at, we're playing in the key of C. So if you put your index finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, that is your C note. And then the pattern that you'll play is index on the 3rd fret, middle on the 5th fret, pinky on the 7th fret. So if you play those 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, and then that same pattern gets played on the D string, 3, 5, 7. Remember, the power of a pattern is you can predict what's going to happen next, but you need to know where does the pattern break down. So this is the part where it changes. The next string on the G string is the index finger on the 4th fret. So how do you find 4? Go to 3 plus 1 and then 5. So now you have your whole scale. Now, those notes for the note of each one, for each note in the scale, you want to know the number, the letter, the chord, and the scale. Right now we're just focusing on the number and the letter. So the number's easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I want you to play and say each one of the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Now we're going to add the letters. Remember, each note in the scale, what does it have? It has a number, a letter, a chord in the scale. We're just doing the first two, the number and the letter. So to get the letter, because this scale is C, you know that the first note will be C and the last note will be C, and that the notes in between will simply follow the alphabet. So C, D, E, F, G. Here's the point where you have to remember, once you get to G, you need to go back to A. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So once you have the numbers and the letters down, then I will quiz you. And if I give you a letter, I want you to give me a number. If I give you a number, I want you to give me a letter. So if I say 1, I want to hear C. If I say 2, I want to hear D. If I say E, I want you to say 3. And so you go through as follows. So that's how much you want to have ready for the next lesson as we begin the next part of the school. Okay.